Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Kar Yee and today I'm going to present about my plant specimens. My first plant specimen is a pteridophyte with the common name of giant swordfin. It is from the family Nephrolapidaceae and the scientific name of giant swordfin is Nephrolapis spizaretta. Giant swordfin is a perennial fern endemic to Florida, Mexico, the West Indies, Central America, South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. It is a herbaceous species of plants in the family Swordfins with a self-supporting growth habit. It is a photoautotroph, which means it can make its own food. Giant swordfins also do not have flowers as it reproduces by spores. They are seedless vascular plants. Giant swordfins are typically 6 to 8 feet in height, spreading from horizontal stems and forming large masses. Leaves are large and are called fronds. These can reach up to 2.5 meter tall. Leaves may be simple or pinnately compound. The petals are sparse to moderate with reddish to light brown hair-like scales. The rachis also have moderately spaced scales of one color. Next, the pinnae will reach 23 cm long, 2 cm wide, and attach 3.5 cm apart. The margins are finely double-toothed and densely pubescent below. The apices are long and pointed, while the central vein has dense erect hairs, short matted hairs, or is rarely glabrous on the upper surface. The individuals are circular to horseshoe-shaped, and lastly, tubers are never present in this species. Moving on to the habitat of giant swordfins. Giant swordfins is a species known to grow epiphytically on palm trunks. This is to allow them to obtain nutrients from the host. Though they are most commonly seen on ground in wet habitats such as mangroves and woody swamps, but also sometimes in clearings and roadsides. Next is the adaptations of giant swordfins. The two primary fern adaptations are the development of rhizomes and compounded leaves. While rhizomes develop horizontally beneath the soil and allow for new plant development, the compounded leaves grow rapidly and take up more space. The most notable adaptation made by giant swordfins is the presence of a rhizome. The rhizome or stem of the giant swordfin develops horizontally beneath the soil, containing a growing tip that gives way to new frond development. The consistency of rhizomes can vary from wood-like hardness to plush-like softness in texture. The inside of the rhizome contains vascular tissue that transports essential minerals, water, and food to the rest of the plant when needed. Although ferns sometimes reproduce using spores, rhizomes also aid reproduction following harsh environments that cause the fronds to die. Another notable adaptation of fern plants is their pinnately compounded leaves. This adaptation proves to be a recognizable characteristic of fern plants and are a beneficial one as well. By having compounded leaves, ferns also increase their overall surface area. By having more surface area by means of leaves, the plant has a far more likely chance of survival as ferns are capable of holding more chloroplasts and photosynthesis becomes more effectively. This increased surface area and sugar production allows the plant to grow when the environment allows for it, therefore letting the fern grow towards its light source, increasing its overall mass at the same time. Overall, the fern's ability to increase in mass gives it an advantage over surrounding plants. These adaptations allow it to thrive. For reproduction, giant swordfins reproduce by spores and are released by wind. These spores are produced within sporangia. The sporangia are typically clumped together into prominent sori under the leaves. The patterns made by sori are not only beautiful but characteristic of the different groups of ferns. If those spores happen to land somewhere suitable, they will grow into what is called a gametophyte, and that is a whole separate individual plant. Giant swordfins exhibit an alternation of generations, in which the spores actually grow into tiny gametophyte ferns so small that they are overlooked without careful search. Each gametophyte produces male and female reproductive structures. The male structures are called antheridia, and they produce sperms that move by means of flagella. The female structures are archegonia. Each archegonium produces an egg, which is fertilized by sperms from the same or other plants. The zygote develops into the sporophyte generation, which is what we think of as the ferns. Nephrolapis also reproduce by vegetative reproduction. It takes place by the formation of buds. Runner produces buds at some distance from parent rhizome. These buds give rise to fronds and thus help in vegetative reproduction of the plants. The giant sword fern life cycle requires 2 generations of plants to complete itself. This is called alternation of generations. One generation is diploid, meaning it carries 2 identical sets of chromosomes in each cell. The leafy fern with spores is part of the diploid generation called the sporophyte. A fern's spore don't grow into leafy sporophyte. Instead, they produce haploid spores by meiosis. Each spore grows into a photosynthetic prothallus via mitosis. Since mitosis maintains the number of chromosomes, each cell in the prothallus is haploid. This plantlet is much smaller than sporophyte fern. Each prothallus produces gametes via mitosis. Meiosis is not needed because the cells are already haploid. Often, a prothallus produces both sperm and eggs on the same plantlet. While the sporophyte consisted of fronds and rhizomes, the gametophyte has leaflets and rhizoids. Within the gametophyte, sperm is produced within a structure called an antheridium. The egg is produced within a similar structure called an archegonium. When water is present, sperm use their flagella to swim to an egg and fertilize it. The fertilized egg remains attached to the prothallus. The egg is a diploid zygote formed by the combination of DNA from the egg and sperm. The zygote grows via mitosis into the diploid sporophyte and the cycle repeats. My second plant specimen is an angiosperm with the common name of Mexican petunia. It is from the family Acanthaceae, and the scientific name of Mexican petunia is Ruellia simplex. Mexican petunia is a perennial plant that stands up to 3 feet in height. The stems are green or purple and the leaves are dark green, oppositely arranged and lens-shaped. Roughly 6 to 12 inches long and half to 3/4 inches wide. Veins on the leaf are prominent on the underside of the leaf, and the leaf margins can be smooth or wavy. Where the leaves are attached, the stem has joints called nodes. The stem is usually hairless when young, except there may be some tufts of hair at the nodes. The stem becomes slightly woody and may get more hair as the plant gets older. Flowers are trumpet-shaped, delicate, and showy with 5 crinkly petals and 5 sepals. Individual flowers last only 1 day, but there are always new ones opening. The habitat of Mexican petunia is wide-ranged. Ruellia simplex is a versatile plant that grows in a wide range of environmental conditions, from wetlands to almost xeric habitats. It tolerates a wide variety of soil types, including heavy clay, acidic, sandy, loamy, and occasionally wet soils. It grows well in sun and shade as it is very heat-tolerant, moderately salt-tolerant, and drought-tolerant. Hence, it is a weed of waterways, riparian vegetation, dams, ponds, wetlands, and drainage ditches in subtropical and tropical regions. Next is the adaptations of Mexican petunias. Mexican petunias are a pretty flowering evergreen perennial that can be grown in containers as shrub-like plants or as ground cover. They grow rapidly and spread easily even in conditions that would be less than ideal for many plants. Mexican petunias are able to tolerate a wide range of growing conditions but prefer wet or marshy soils such as moist wet woodlands or the edges of ponds and lakes. They can withstand drought and even full sun in drier soils. The plant's showy flowers are short-lived, but they open over a long period of time. The shrubs grow 1 to 4 feet high and about the same in width. The dark downside to most of these attractive tough plants is that they grow out of control, overtaking desirable plants. Invasive Mexican petunias form large horizontal roots that grow above and below ground, making them difficult to remove, and even small pieces that are overlooked can regrow. Seed capsules on the plants burst open with ripe scattering seeds everywhere. The seeds can remain in the soil and germinate years after the plants have been eradicated. The seeds form a mucus-like gel when they get wet. Once they are deposited on dry soil, they stick like glue. Moving on to the reproduction of Mexican petunias. The plant was spread by rhizomes and self-seeding in the garden. Mexican petunia produces seeds that germinate readily and grow into plants identical to the parent. The seeds don't require a dormant period, so you can plant them as soon as seed capsules dry and open. and they also germinate whether covered by soil or exposed to light. New seedlings grow well if their soil is kept moist, but they may only produce a few late-season flowers during the first year. In fertile form, cylindrical fruit or capsules containing 4 to 28 seeds are produced. Capsules have explosive dehiscence and seeds are spread long distances. Seeds produce a gel-like substance when wet that enables them to stick to surfaces when they dry. Mexican petunia also spreads by producing thin underground stems called rhizomes, which send up new stems to increase the size of a clump. It can produce new plants by severing the connection of these new shoots to the mother plant and transplanting them. These young plants grow and flower quickly, usually at a rate similar to that of a nursery-grown specimen. Mexican petunia can also reproduce itself through sexual reproduction. This process involves moving pollen from the reproductive part of a male flower called an anther to the reproductive part of a female flower called stigma. Insects such as bees or butterflies transport the pollen from the male flower to the female. The fertilized female flower eventually loses its petals and a seed head is formed. These seeds are the offspring of the reproductive process. Double fertilization happens in angiosperms. This is because the male gamete that enters the ovule has two nuclei. One of the male gamete fuses with the female gamete to form a diploid zygote, whereas the other forms a triploid endosperm by fusing with the diploid polar nuclei. The zygote divides to form the future plant, whereas the endosperm provides nutrition to the developing embryo. After fertilization, the ovary becomes the fruit and the ovules become the seeds. The other structures like the calyx, corolla, and the remaining parts of the androecium and gynoecium degenerate or fall off. So, in conclusion, my plant specimen is the giant swordfern and the Mexican petunia. And that's all from me. Thank you for listening.